Hey everybody, it's MommaOG. I am back with another reaction. Today I'm circling around to the project Inpatient by Ren and Chris Webby and their latest release, Neurodivergent. This came out on May 6th. I have a little bit of a pause in doing this, not for anything bad, but I have spoken before in an Aurora reaction about neurodiversity. I am not extremely knowledgeable on what it is and what is all. I know there's a bunch of things included in being neurodivergent. I've been told I'm neurodivergent by both random people, but also by my therapist. So just a little bit of a background. I have PTSD, ADHD, and generalized anxiety that is tied to my PTSD, but it gets pretty severe. All of these things kind of play into each other. The other thing that I have talked about extensively in my videos is the fact that I am what you might call empathic. I don't relate it to anything like psychic or clairvoyancy, or my situation is where I can absorb other energy from environments, from people, from situations. I've always been this way, but it's only been the last 10 or 15 years that I've actually really discovered exactly what's been going on. If somebody walks into my space and they're in a bad mood, or if they're dangerous, or if they're extremely happy, or if they're sad, I can feel that as if I'm feeling that. This whole thing has actually sharpened my intuition. I'm learning to use this for good in my life. I feel in order to do this reaction as authentically as I possibly can, I want to do a little bit of actual reading on the word neurodivergent so that I have a little bit better of an understanding of what exactly it is. I'm just going to do a little bit. I'm not going to read this whole thing because there's a lot. I will probably do some of this reading on my own, and then maybe I will also make a discovery about myself. The neurodiversity paradigm is a framework for understanding human brain function that considers the diversity with sensory processing, motor abilities, social comfort, cognition, and focus. Ding, ding. As neurobiological differences. This diversity falls on a spectrum of neurocognitive differences. The neurodiversity movement views autism and other neurodivergences as a natural part of human neurological diversity, not diseases or disorders, just differences. That's a bit comforting because about a month ago, in one of my therapy sessions, I see an RN nurse for medication for the ADHD and the occasional panic, anxiety. And she said, which at the time I was like shocked. She's like, I can sense a little tism in you. And I was thinking, tism as in autism? And she said yes. And so, not being as knowledgeable as I should be about autism in and of itself, I was shocked. But I do understand there are varying degrees of it, all kinds of middle ground from one end to the spectrum to the other. I just need to go ahead and expand my knowledge about it as well. Okay, so it says neurodivergences include autism, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, bipolar disorder, developmental hell. Okay, so that's face blindness, where you have a hard time recognizing familiar faces. Developmental speech disorders, dyslexia, I always say I have homophone dyslexia. I know the differences between homophones, like there, and there. I know which ones are correct to use in certain, but I will just subconsciously typing will use the wrong one. So I don't know if that's a thing or not. Dysgraphia. What is dysgraphia? Okay, learning disability. Dyspraxia. Okay, that's a coordination. Dyscalculia, learning disorder. Intellectual disability, obsessive compulsive disorder. Now, I've also been told I might have this as well. I always joke that I have organizational OCD because when I clean something, I clean. When I organize stuff, I uber organize. I'm not checking, I'm not turning light switches off a million times. I'm not washing my hands a bunch of times. It's probably more my ADHD than anything. Schizophrenia, sensory processing disorder, synesthesia. I'm having a hard time. It's a perceptual phenomenon in which stimulation of one of the sensory or cognitive pathways leads to involuntary experiences in other sensory. Okay, I don't think I have that. And Tourette's. Okay. So this was a movement that started in the 80s and early 90s with the start of the Autism Network International. In summary, it just sounds like neurodiversity can be one of many different ways the brain functions in a certain person, whether that be from actual autism or, in my case, ADHD, or what have you. It could be a number of things, but it is all human brain function. This could be like a blanket thing for many people. I think I said earlier, I have a hard time explaining to people my internal part of me, like how my brain works, to where anybody who doesn't experience the same thing can understand it or even believe it sometimes. Some people think I'm being dramatic or just can't grasp what I'm trying to explain. Before we get started, I cannot keep up with suggestions and comments any longer. I just want to make that clear. So if there's something you would like me to react to, you can click on a donation link down in the description, send along the information, and I will get it recorded as soon as possible. I also take notes during my reactions, so if you see me looking down from time to time, I'm just writing down a couple of things so I don't forget what I want to say when it's time to talk. Anyway, enough talking. Sorry about that. I've got my earbuds in. Let's go ahead and get started.
Stay calm, boy. My thoughts are burning like the napalm. I think I need to get away from this noise. I hate the places that I came from. Destroy, I'm burning a message from the preacher. Subliminal, out the speaker. Kill, I never paid attention either. There's something strange about my demeanor. Pity, don't feel pity for this sick boy. I've been sitting pretty with prescriptions, flipping stimulation, edibles, it's medicine, cerebellum, repairable, tweaking the biochemical, peaking, I feel incredible. But wait a second, need dopamine. My focus goes towards smoke machine, precursor birth from L-tyrosine, and my racetrack doors very psycheding, deciphering maybes I might have been, aspirating, Fibonacci, Vicodin, the piloting, Kawasaki, ninja thing, I bring torpedo, begin, and I go.
Okay, I have to rewind that.
My demeanor. Pity, don't feel pity for this sick boy. I've been sitting pretty with prescriptions, flipping stimulation, edibles, it's medicine, cerebellum, repairable, tweaking the biochemical, peaking, I feel incredible. But wait a second, need dopamine. My focus goes towards smoke machine, precursor birth from L-tyrosine, and my racetrack doors very psychedelic, deciphering maybes I might have been, aspirating, Fibonacci, Vicodin, the piloting, Kawasaki, ninja thing, I bring torpedo, begin, and I go, off script, status quo, car twisted, the road, top lip split, explode, don't fit. Whoa, what makes a person? Whoa, neurodivergent. Whoa, sick for certain. Whoa,
Neurodivergent.
they told me I was broken. Nothing but a defect in my head. Said that I was hopeless. Just a fucking reject hanging on by a thread. But after all the pills that they got me, it turned me to a zombie. So welcome to the dawn of the dead. In the handicap spot, just to see that doctor. And this is what he said. Yeah, he said I got a touch of the tism. Piece of my puzzle is in the handicap spot, just to see that doctor. And this is what he said. Yeah, he said I got a touch of the tism. Piece of my puzzle is missing, while the attention deficit disorder tunnels my vision. But see, this world's an asylum and shit, we all in the system. And our sanity's the motherfucking cost of admission. You see that glitch in the algorithm, that's me. Don't fit in a crowd, I lift a boundary. Going sick, let it out and flip. They found me with a misfits round, so bitch allow me to show 'em what I came to do. Shut the blinds and keep the noise down, cause it's about time to let them all into a madman's mind. Not well, but hell, I feel fine. Go, whoa, off script state. This whoa, got twisted. He whoa, top lip split. Explode, whoa, misfit, don't fit. Whoa, what makes a person? Whoa, neurodivergent. Whoa, sick for certain. Whoa, neurodivergent.
Yep.
Sick entirely. Whoa, shrinks in psychiatry. Whoa, don't mind my anxiety. Whoa, or my non-sobriety. Whoa, doctors lining up to lie to me. Whoa, speak too much, they try to silence me. Whoa, just a product of society. Whoa, that's fine with me.
Good Lord. Where do I even fucking start? Yeah, I can relate to a lot of that song. God, I don't even know where to start. Let me just go ahead and start with what I actually saw with the song, and then I'm going to talk again more, thank you ADHD, about my specific relation to this song and its theme. The first thing that popped into my head when that song stopped was that was unapologetically self-aware. I love seeing other humans who are incredibly self-aware. I feel like I am incredibly self-aware about most things. I'm sure there are things I'm oblivious to. We all are. But life has become a little bit easier for me since I became a little bit more self-aware about what's going on in here, inside my, my life. I am one thing to the people around me and what I portray to the world. There is a lot more going on the inside that I don't necessarily talk about with many people because it's a lot. Anyway, I will get back to that. The visuals of that reminded me of overstimulation. There was a part where you saw the overheads of bathroom stalls and a bunch of people, either crying, and Ren was crushing something up and snorting it, just coping mechanisms. Overstimulation is a real thing. And I feel like, I'm an older person. I'm in my 50s. We didn't have social media, the internet, when I was a teenager. We didn't even have cell phones when I was a teenager. So these things are all a product of what younger generations are experiencing today, in my opinion. The social media just flipping, it's short attention span stuff. It's toxic. It's a bunch of people, putting things out there that they normally wouldn't share, and on a grand worldwide scale in some cases. I hear about people who die because they're walking down the street, on their phone and walk into traffic. I joke that, it's not funny, but I joke another death by cell phone. So all these things weren't around. But I completely can relate to the overstimulation that these things all produce. Because I use social media. I don't use it as much as most people. I have less than a handful of platforms that I actually use, and I keep it that way for a purpose. I don't know. I felt some overstimulation in the visuals of the song itself. The racing thoughts, I can directly relate to that. It kind of had my brain racing. It seemed like they were trying to describe something I experience as well, as like racing thoughts. My mind goes into 20 different places at one time. Sometimes I am just hyper aware of absolutely everything. And then I have this thing where I catastrophize things. I assume that the worst possible thing's going to happen with absolutely everything. And it causes me to either start feeling a buildup of anxiety, which may or may not lead to a panic attack. Physically, I will do things to try to prevent the absolute worst case scenario. For example, if I leave my house and I have to leave my animals there and nobody is home, I will unplug everything in the house for fear that because I'm gone, a fire's going to break out, or just something, along those lines. There was a lot of energy shifts in this song. I'm trying to talk about what I got from the song, but I keep relating it back to my situation, and I wanted to wait to talk about that, but it's very difficult because I relate with so much in this song. And you all may be getting a taste of exactly how my brain kind of works. I can talk a lot. I can go off into tangents as well. So the energy shifts that I made a note about, there was some humor, there was some frustration, there was some confidence, and there was some vulnerability in there. But none of it ever resolved itself. So that kind of gives me anxiety. It's a bunch of different things that are going on that I can relate to with no resolution. And that's unsettling. That doesn't make the song bad. It makes me appreciate the song even more because, like I said, there's not a lot of people that I talk to or can talk to about these types of things. And seeing a song and hearing a song like this is reassuring. It helps me know that I'm not alone. Other people go through stuff like this, and I bet there's more people that go through this than not. We just don't talk about it because maybe the people around us don't quite get it or don't care. If somebody that you know or that knows you has never had an issue with racing thoughts, anxiety, PTSD, traumatic situations that may have caused some of these things, they can't relate with it. and therefore can't understand it. That plays a huge role into my life, and I appreciate this song because it gives me an outlet to talk about these things, and it's important for me. I often feel, it can be like a really lonely place, not be able to share these certain things with people around you that love you the most because they don't understand it and they can't relate to it. And then you come off as over dramatic, or they think it's easy to just stop certain things that you do or stop certain trains of thought. They think well, just don't do that. It's just doesn't work that way. So I've come to learn that I've got to hold back quite a bit, and that can sometimes get lonely. That can be a lonely place. So I'm really loving and appreciating this song for that reason as well. Yeah, I'm going to go over the lyrics a little bit before I kind of talk more about my situation. I've talked a lot about my situation already, but there was something in the song lyrically that I wanted to talk about, and I need to pull them up. Okay, stay calm, boy. My thoughts are burning like they're napalm. I think I need to get away from the noise. I hate the places that I came from, destroy, and burn the message from the preacher. Subliminal, out the speaker, kill, kill. I never paid attention either. There's something strange about my demeanor. Yeah, that's the other thing is people think I'm weird. Because I think about things on such another level that many people don't. Because that's just the way my brain operates. There's something strange about my demeanor. Pity. Don't feel pity. Don't feel pity for the sick boy. I've been sitting pretty with prescriptions. Flipping stimulants and edibles. It's medicine, cerebellum repairable. Tweaking the biochemical, peaking, I feel incredible. But wait a second, need dopamine. My focus goes, the world's smoke machine. Precursor birth from L-tyrosine. And my racetrack thoughts are race cycling. Ding, ding. Deciphering maybes and might have beens. Yes. A spiraling Fibonacci Vicodin. I pile it in, Kawasaki Ninja thing. I bring torque, big talk big, begin. Okay, so it's just the chorus. They told me, and this is Chris's part, they told me I was broken, nothing but a defect in my head. Said that I was hopeless, just a fucking reject, hanging on by a thread. But after all the pills that they got me, it turned me into a zombie. So, yeah, I just need to make a note because that's something, meds, I need to talk about. So welcome to the dawn of the dead. In the handicap spot just to see the doctor, and this is what he said. Yeah, he said, I've got a touch of the tism. That freaked me out when I heard that, because that's exactly what my therapy RN said to me a month or two ago. It's crazy. Piece of my puzzle is missing. While the attention deficit disorder tunnels my vision, but see, the world's an asylum and shit. We're all in the system. And our sanity's the motherfucking cost of admission. Yeah, that goes back to what I was saying, is that the current state of the world and internet, social media, the way we absorb information and the type of information that we get, because it's changed drastically since I was a kid or young. This is all playing into all this shit that's going on in our heads. Some of the younger generations that grew up on this stuff don't know anything different. They're being especially affected. But even people like me who do know something different, it can affect older people as well. But I think for me personally, that's why I don't do a lot of social media platforms. There are less than a handful, like I said, for a reason. Even the ones that I am dealing with, they kind of can affect me in certain times as well. So I completely understand that part of that verse right there. Don't fit in the crowd, I lift the boundary. Going sick, let it out and flip, they found me. With the misfits round, so bitch, allow me to show 'em what I came to do, shut the blinds and keep the noise down, 'cause it's about time to let them all into a madman's mind. Not well, but hell, I feel fine. Wow. That's an incredible line there. All right, and then we got the chorus a couple more times. This type of thing that the younger generations are experiencing now was not quite a thing back when I was growing up. You know, of course, yes, there was trauma, there was anxiety, there may have been, ADHD stuff, but I don't remember knowing anybody growing up with autism or, this neurodivergent thing. I think this is all thing that we're like, I don't know. I'm against labels a lot, like sticking a label on something just to try to understand it. I'm against that because it tends to throw people in boxes, and we've been indoctrinated to label everything and to classify everything as a species, whether it be race or religion or mental status or whatever. And that tends to indoctrinate somebody. As you raise a human being, you inadvertently indoctrinate them to throw everything of the same classification in the same box. And that's just not how it works. Everybody is different. If you take one label of a class of people and you slap it on them, not everybody is going to fit that label that's in that label, but people will treat them that way anyway. That's kind of where my mantra comes from. See human, be human. It's just get rid of the labels and just kind of get to know somebody as a human being before you start talking or judging them on anything that you may be seeing that you want to slap a label on. Anyway, I have been in and out of therapy for, postpartum depression, the PTSD situation that I experienced in the late 90s. I had 3 encounters with near death in a 2.5, 3-year period where I almost died. And that really fucked me up. I started feeling some depression. I was doing okay in life, but I was also seeking out help from therapists just to talk about these things. And, because I was having things happening to me that I didn't understand. I went through therapist after therapist. And finally, over the years, I got extremely disenfranchised, I guess you'd say, with the whole world of therapy. And they do nothing but throw meds at you. I've been on all kinds of antidepressants in my past with all kinds of side effects. Back in about 2015, I found a therapist here locally where I live. For the first time in my life, I felt got me. Didn't dismiss me, kind of let me take the reins, so to speak, in my treatment, but also, I don't know how to explain it, but they helped me. I went to see her, and I was treated for ADHD at the time, overtreated on the doctor side, I would say, in hindsight, and my anxiety at the time. And then probably around 2017, I just felt better. I didn't feel like I needed the meds. I stopped going to therapy, and I was fine for like 9 years, 8, well, maybe 7 years. I was fine. And then about last year, November, December, I started noticing some things, but I got to back up a little. My father, who I moved up here to take care of in 2008, he died in 2024. It's been 2 years. I lived with him. This home that I bought, he lived with me here, and I started doing some things. I started Uber organizing my house. I was changing rooms around. We have a huge storage shed out back that I had my former life from Virginia in. all the stuff that I had in Virginia when I moved up here. Hadn't really touched it since I moved up here. And I went through in 5 days and just cleaned everything out. I moved Mike's studio from downstairs to upstairs, our bedroom from upstairs to downstairs. I started getting plants and trying to take care of them. I got to this point, I've noticed in the last 2 years since my dad died, that I have a very hard time sitting still. And I've never been that way. I've never had a problem with laying around for a day and, watching TV or, just doing nothing. But I've just noticed I started gradually needing to be more productive around my house and take care of my plants and improve my birds' lives and clean things more. And it just started manifesting in some really weird ways. And then back in November and December of last year, I started noticing the anxiety part of it. I was having catastrophic thought processes about almost everything, and it would affect the people around me as well. Like I would do things a certain way because of my thought processes, so I would expect other people to do the same thing. Our hot water heater was on the verge of blowing up, and I found out that it's been leaking carbon monoxide into our basement, probably since we've moved in here into this house and bought this house, which was 2019. And that sent me into just absolute panic. I started having panic attacks. Mike had his hip replacement surgery at the end of December, and he experienced severe side effects from the spinal anesthesia. It leaked out, and he was extremely sick. And that sent me into a panic, and on top of caring for him, one thing after another. In December, I was like, I'm like having full-on panic attacks about, maybe twice a week. I'm overthinking and thinking the worst of absolutely everything around me. And it's just like a remanifestation of the trauma that I experienced 30 years ago and how it kind of biologically changed my nervous system, my brain, just how I think about things. And I kind of thought, well, I think I need some help. So I went right back to the same therapist that helped me before. And the doctor that I saw before was no longer there, which is actually a really good thing, because after all the medications I've tried, after everything that's been thrown at me in the past, I have kind of developed a phobia of meds. I wasn't on one prescription medication for many years, which was kind of a change for me. When I went back this time, I knew what I did need was what helped me with my anxiety before. And that's, I kind of was adamant, like, that's all I want. That's all that's going on with me. My panic is out of control. I will come here, every 2 weeks, and I will sit down and tell you everything that's going on. But I am going to, something's going to blow if I don't medically handle my anxiety. My body starts to react to the anxiety. And then, my brain starts going before I can actually catch up and realize that what's going on right now is not rational. So I needed some help. She kind of pushed me, she's like, you're still clearly experiencing ADHD. It doesn't go away. They're all playing off of each other. So she said, your anxiety is not going to be managed effectively long-term unless you deal with your ADHD. And what I told her about, I get up in the morning, I have my cup of coffee, I have to be playing something on my phone. I can't just sit there. If Mike's sitting there watching a show, if I'm not interested on what's on TV, I can't just sit there and drink my coffee. I have to be doing something. It's the reason why I'm 50-something years old and still play video games. I have to do stuff to keep my brain from going 90 miles an hour about 90 different things at one time. And that's pretty much the gist of it. So these reactions help. My editing, the reactions help. The production that goes into doing these videos help. This song is, I always feel like I want to cry a little bit because, like I said, it can be a really lonely place to be in this kind of headspace all the time and not really have anybody regularly that you can talk to that won't shrug you off or just not be able to relate to it or understand it. So I really appreciate this as a reassurance, knowing once again that people like me, people like Ren, people like Chris Webby, and I'm sure a lot of you that are watching, it's like we're not alone. I feel like Aurora is a little bit in this bubble with us. I start to recognize a lot of people. I'm very aware, and I say it all the time, I physically watch people a lot. And I find that doing that can give me cues about their actual energy, which, as I said, I can feel that sometimes. It's not something I can turn on and turn off. It just kind of hits me. But physically paying attention to certain things about people, whether in real life or on screen, can tell me a lot more about them than anything that comes out of their mouth. So it's just nice to know that there's other people out there. So I'm sorry I talked so long. I don't even know how much of this I'll actually leave in the video. But part of the thing on this channel is I have learned to open up and just kind of be myself. You know, being authentic is one of the most important things to me from the beginning of doing these reactions, is being real, being myself, and not performative bullshit, because this means something to me. You know, music has been a big part of my life, all my life, and it means a lot to me. I take it pretty seriously, and discovering new stuff and even connecting with artists like this and like Aurora on a human level, it's amazing. It's therapeutic. And then comes the other fun part about this is, you know, once I get the video posted, I hear from all of you, just kind of giving me a little reassurance that I'm not crazy, or I may not talk too much, or, you know, some people are honest. Yeah, maybe you did talk a little bit, but I understand it. There's a lot of stuff. I get a lot from doing this channel. I make a lot of connections with you guys. And I can't tell you how much that means to me. This is definitely an outlet for me to express myself in a way and to people who I normally couldn't. Thank you all for being a source for that. I appreciate it. Thanks to Red and Chris Webby for also being a source of kind of seeing eye to eye as human beings. And thank you all for putting up with my babbling and my nasally cold voice. I appreciate you being here to share this with me, and I will see you on the next one.
I don't always look like I'm having fun, but believe me, I am having the best time of my life.
All right, let's sit down and do some work. Work. La na 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 na. All right, enough. Come on, sit down, dude. Focus. Ford Focus. What a piece of shit car. Oh my God, I think that woman that hit me in 1998 drove a Ford Focus. I don't know. Oh, look, a bird.
Does anyone actually know what ADHD stands for? It actually stands for Attention Deficit. Hey, donuts!
to find a new name for ADHD. Why? Turns out they don't actually have a deficit in attention, they just can't regulate it. That explains the hyperfocus. It seems to be more of a regulation issue. Like with their sleep, it's either too much or too little. Everything they do is kind of just all or nothing. And they're only either understimulated or overstimulated. And they lack dopamine. So what about dopamine, attention, variability, executive dysfunction? Dave? Dave. Love it, write it down.